Tonight on CTV News, the government announces plans to wind down Sarah. The police advance their criminal investigation into the collapse of the CTV building, and the latest on the Ashburton shooting. This is CTV News. I'm Grant Mangan. The man alleged to have killed 2 people and injured another in a triple shooting at the Ashburton Work and Income Office has appeared in court.
Charged with murder and attempted murder, Russell John Tully appeared in the Christchurch District Court this morning. Local media are reporting that Tully has been remanded for an appearance in the Christchurch High Court on September 23. Yesterday, Ashburton was in lockdown following the shooting at the Work and Income Office that left 2 people dead. Armed police swarmed the town and neighbouring countryside, searching for 48-year-old Russell Tully. A major investigation is ongoing. Detective Inspector Tom Fitzgerald says police have formed a picture of what happened, but are appealing for further information and sightings. Police want to hear from anyone who saw someone fitting the description of the shooter. That was a man described as wearing dark-coloured clothing, a rolled-up balaclava, a dark backpack, and riding or pushing a dark mountain bike. A person fitting that description was seen around the Ashburton New World supermarket, and police ask for anyone with similar sightings to come forward. Police are also appealing for 2 runners to get in touch urgently. They are believed to have come into contact with the man on the Ashburton River track yesterday. The Christchurch Press is reporting that the 2 women killed were Peggy Noble and Susan Cleveland. Lindy Curtis was also reportedly injured when the shooter attacked. Police want anyone with information relating to this incident to speak to Ashburton Police.
With Sarah set to wind down next year, the government has announced plans to change the earthquake recovery structures for Christchurch.
Under a national government, the Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Authority will be integrated within the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet. Announced at a Chamber of Commerce meeting in Christchurch today, Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee reassured the changes do not affect the government's commitment to Canterbury.
I think it means that they should be confident that the recovery is moving at a pace that means that we can start moving back to a situation where the government is able to continue to provide resource but pull back on some of the day-to-day decision making.
Minister Brownlee says since the earthquakes, the face of the recovery has evolved. As it continues, there needs to be a plan for transition and longer-term governance. The transition to take place in February.
My expectation is that, as I said in my speech, Mr Sutton would stay as the head of Sarah. He's doing a tremendous job. My expectation, if Jerry wanted to, is he'd stay as the Minister for the government. So in essence, the reporting line wouldn't change, but what would also happen is that Mr Kibblewhite, as the head of DPMC, would have some powers and obviously authority over that agency as it sits within DPMC.
Sarah was established in 2011 alongside the SIR Act, which allowed Sarah its special powers. Originally set to expire in April 2016, Jerry Brownlee says the Act will be re-looked at, potentially removing the legislation of the now unnecessary powers.
One of them is the power to direct, for example. We haven't had to use that a lot because there's been such goodwill and throughout the whole process. And some of the others that are not quite so direct, but some of the more obscure sort of powers that we have in that Act.
Minister Brownlee weighed on what special powers he believes would stick around after 2016.
Well, I think some indemnity cover for people that are involved in recovery is one. I think the acquisition program may not be completed, so some of the provisions around those acquisitions would need to be continuing. I think possibly too the ability to make or put together a recovery plan that becomes a statutory document.
As part of the transition, the government also plans to set up an advisory committee alongside local government agencies to help guide the plan development and review the special powers. In July, the Labour Party announced their plan to wind back the role of Sarah. Following today's announcement, Labour leader David Cunliffe has come out claiming the government are adopting Labour's Sarah policy because the national government are tired and has run out of steam and fresh ideas. The new phase for Sarah will come into effect on February the 1st next year. Joelle Batista, CTV News.
Red light offenders have come under the spotlight following new research at the University of Canterbury.
Caught on camera, it's a fast way to get through the lights, but these red light offenders could kill. Every day, thousands of Christchurch drivers run an orange light just as it turns red. These Christchurch Transport Operations Centre cameras capturing the breaches of the driving rules in real time.
So lights have changed, and here's this truck driving through on a red light. And here's a car driving through on a red light, even worse.
Two offenders?
Absolutely.
Between 2010 and 2012, there were 665 crashes in New Zealand after cars failed to stop at red lights, involving 9 fatalities. New research being carried out by 2 honours students at the University of Canterbury has shown drivers are more likely to run red lights in weekday afternoon peak hours than in the mornings. The research has also shown that drivers are more inclined to jump red lights in areas of slower, lower speed limits such as 50 k's an hour. The rush to get home on time is putting other drivers at risk.
How often do you see this?
It's worse during peak periods, but often it's not irregular during peak periods, basically. Obviously, there's a bit of tension about travel times out there at the moment, so it would seem that people are taking some fairly high risks compared to what they would have traditionally taken.
The students ran surveys observing drivers at intersections with varying speed limits. One survey for each intersection was carried out during the autumn month of May, and the same process was repeated in the darker winter month of July. Each survey involved observing traffic flows during morning and afternoon peak hours from Tuesday to Thursday, as well as one afternoon survey on Sundays. 2/3 of all red light offences were observed at the 50 km an hour intersection, with the vast majority of offending vehicles being privately owned. The overall difference in red light offenders between the winter and summer months showed little to no change, with only a 4% difference. 90% of all red light violators were private vehicles, and there was only one instance of a driver running a red light during the weekend. The research findings will be presented at the university's Civil and Natural Resources Engineering Research Conference on campus in October.
A Central City church that survived the earthquake's destruction is nearing the end of its rebuild. The Knox Church community are celebrating the completion of the roof, another step forward in the repair.
Damaged in the February 2011 earthquake, this is how Knox Church stood for more than 2 years. The century-old bricks tumbled and fell, the limestone cracked, and the prominent church on the corner of Victoria Street and Beeley Avenue was left with its timber skeleton exposed to the public's gaze. A $5.5 million rebuild is now well underway. The last sheet of roofing iron has been fastened into place. Contractors started the work of removing the original 100-year-old corrugated iron roof 5 months ago, and today's event celebrates its replacement. The original roof was made up of individual overlapping sheets. The new completed roof should look no different. The new roof covers 1,250 square metres and is secured by 10,000 screws and took 446 man-hours to install. Before securing the new iron, contractors installed thermal and acoustic blankets and a fire sprinkler system. By the end of the year, the rebuild of the 112-year-old church will be complete. The new church will meet 100% of the building code and will remain standing for at least another 100 years. The rebuilt church will be used by the community, with seating for up to 400 people. The $5.5 million cost of the rebuild has been mostly covered from insurance. However, fundraising will need to cover an extra $2 million.
Coming up, police have advanced their criminal investigations into the collapse of the CTV building.
Kids television is right here on CTV. Tune in every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for an exciting range of fantastic kids programming. Join in with all the fun Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on CTV.
Welcome to Caltex Redwood. We're a family-owned business proudly supporting our local community. We're open 24/7 for fuel and shop goods, and we have an amazing team of people ready to help you. Save at least 6 cents per litre using AA Smart Fuel cards. We also offer great value on our LPG bottle fills. We have a full workshop and Bridgestone Tyre Centre. Our mechanics and tyre technicians will get your car sorted. Caltex Redwood. We're just down from St Bede's on Main North Road. Caltex Redwood. What drives you?
Undergone home renovations? Looking for that special something to complete a room? Look no further than the Hitching Post. Their extensive range ensures you can find that special something. From plasma cut metalwork to candles, artwork, weather vanes, or even a customised gate. So come on down to the hitching post, 722 Marshland Road.
Hi, I'm Mark and welcome to Staywell Pharmacy. Whatever the season, Staywell Pharmacy has you covered. As an integrated pharmacy, we stock all the well-known pharmacy medicines, as well as quality nutritional and herbal treatments. Our team of pharmacists and full-time naturopath are here to help you find the products and advice to suit the needs of you and your family. So come in and see us at Staywell Pharmacy, 27 Shands Road in Hornby. Staywell Pharmacy, live well, stay well.
It's Blackwell's Mazda Demolition Sale, with prices on selected demonstrators that'll blow you away. BT50 4x4 from $39,995. CX5 from $35,595. Mazda 6 LTD from $49,995. CX9 from $55,495. And Mazda 3 from $30,800. The clock's ticking. These prices could blow any second. Call Blackwell's Mazda Stockburn today.
Join me, Jude Kirk, every weekday as I share with you some of the best shopping in Canterbury.
Police have today announced they will be advancing the criminal investigation into the collapse of the CTV building in February 2011. Detective Superintendent Peter Reid says the new development follows the assessment and evaluation of a huge amount of information from a range of sources over the last 18 months. Mr. Reid says the police now believe there is sufficient evidence to warrant further criminal investigation into the collapse of the CTV building. However, engineering consultants Becker have yet to complete some aspects of their assessment, and there is still a significant amount of work to be done before any investigation can be completed. Mr. Reid says the potential outcome of the investigation is unknown. However, the victims' families have been advised of the decision. There was a special visit to the CTV site for a group travelling from Malaysia. Emma Cropper has the story.
A moment of silence to mark the loss of one of their own. The Malaysian contingent for St John, stopping to remember Malaysia's only casualty in the earthquake at the former CTV site. 34-year-old Jin Hai was inside the CTV building on February 22nd, working as a receptionist for the King's Education Language School on the building's third floor. Described by her uncle as a gentle person, this group of 30 St John cadets laid stones in honour of her memory.
It helps the process of coming to terms with what happened here. It also helps people, support one another and understand what it means. And I think one of the, to the credit of the city as well, having this memorial, the way that it is, the way that it's laid out and the accessibility of it for people to come here and have those moments is muchly appreciated.
The stop was part of their trip around New Zealand in conjunction with St John.
And experience what we do here, how we do it, how we run our program and how we support our young people throughout New Zealand.
Giving the overseas partners a chance to share in the lessons and resources from here in New Zealand.
We all live in a global world, we're a global community and what might work in one country may work in another.
The lessons St John learnt on February 22nd will be shared with this group. The memory of 34-year-old Jin Hai, a memory of how vital the role of St John can be. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Human trafficking is becoming an increasingly large problem within New Zealand and Canterbury. A group of local women is raising more awareness around the topic to help put a stop to it.
A message of hope in Hanmer Springs.
Who I'm basing most of my statistics from.
The Haga Foundation held New Zealand's first Hope Conference on human trafficking.
It has been a conference set up for ordinary New Zealanders to be able to go and learn about human trafficking and find out what they can do to stop it.
Haga is a worldwide organisation offering support to victims of human trafficking, including slavery and prostitution. More than 100 people turned out on the weekend to learn more about the issue in New Zealand.
We had people from Auckland, Palmerston North, Invercargill, West Coast, Marlborough. It was amazing.
A topic many would assume only happened offshore, but this isn't the case. In 2012, a Lower Hutt grandmother was convicted as a mastermind and coordinator of a baby trafficking ring, recruiting surrogates, treating them in Ukraine and selling their babies for more than $180,000 US.
I think it's a topic that people are starting to become aware of. There's starting to be a little bit more in the media and that sort of thing, but what's sort of happening is people are becoming aware. They're not aware of how bad the situation is or what exactly is going on, let alone what exactly human trafficking or slavery is.
There are more than 27 million slaves in the world. More than 70% of those are being trafficked for forced labour, 22% of those for prostitution. The average price of an adult slave is $90, for a child just $50. But the organisation believes human trafficking is an issue here in Canterbury as well.
There's a lot of talk that there is, and most people strongly suspect there is. At the moment, again, we're still trying to find the data to prove that, but it is suspected that there are a lot of people who are being exploited here for forced labour.
Plans are already underway for next year's conference, with the hopes more awareness will come to light around this topic. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
The Christchurch nightlife is gaining pace in the central city, and now an old favourite looks set to be rebuilt and reopened to the public.
Before the February earthquake, it was one of Christchurch's weekend hotspots. Now the earthquake-damaged Soul Square is finally set to be redeveloped. The press reports that after more than 3 years of being left in limbo, local businessman Gerald Carter has bought the precinct. Mr Carter is responsible for the design of Waipara Wine Village and owns the boutique Taitapu Lodge. Invitations from a local public relations company have been sent out to hospitality operators and entrepreneurs, inviting them to a Soul Square returns meeting. A local Christchurch hospitality operator who already owns 6 of the Soul Square bars has unsuccessfully spent more than a year in negotiations with the receiver, buildings insurers and Bank of New Zealand to buy the site. More strengthening work is also to be done on Poplar Lane to bring the building up to 100% of the building code. It's hoped the business would be opened by April.
Local workers showed up in full force to a workers' union annual conference being held in Christchurch. Organisers are hoping to build awareness around the effectiveness of unions and the vital role they play in worker equality.
Campaigning against inequality and poverty within New Zealand. This is one of 60 conferences being held around New Zealand by the First Union, an outlet that campaigns for better working conditions for local and nationwide employees.
And it's part of our role about getting decent work, combating inequality in New Zealand, because we have a growing working poor, and that growing working poor almost is entirely composed of non-union people. So we want to get them into the union, get them decent wages, get that minimum wage up to a living wage, and make sure that this is, in New Zealand, a good place to live.
This year's Stop Work conferences coincide with the general election. 3 political parties, the Greens, Internet Mana and Labour, were invited to take part. Robert Reid, the Union First's General Secretary, says it's because their policies are closely aligned to the union's interests. The National Party, the only ones not to receive an invitation.
National Party have plenty other chances to get their views across, and when you read their policies, they do not have the interests of workers at heart. They're trying to make it harder for workers to be in unions, harder for unions to operate, so we don't see any reason why we should give them a platform.
The union represents workers in the finance, retail, logistics and transport sectors. Mr Reid says in order to vote change, he's hoping more union workers won't forget to vote on September 20th.
In order to make sure that your vote counts, you actually have to use it, and that's the message that we'll be putting forward to our members today.
Currently, only 20% of workers are part of a union, but Mr Reid is hoping that figure will change.
We have 27,000 members throughout the country, and our main role is to try and get decent wages and conditions for those members.
The first union bargains for wage increases, supports hundreds of workers through disciplinary hearings, and saves the jobs of many who would have otherwise been dismissed. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Still to come, your regional weather.
I'm Chris Lynch. Join me for CTV's new current affairs show Lynched every Monday at 8:30 right here on CTV, where I talk to the decision makers and those responsible for running our city.
Avoid the monkeys when it comes to relocating. Trust A1 Movers, a family business since 1993 that guarantees a professional job every time. We carefully handle and wrap your valued items, ensuring they have a safe journey. Secure storage and insurance options are also available.
A1 Movers, the careful, caring moving company. Oi!
Come in and meet the locals at the Bush Inn Centre. Whether it's to grab a coffee on the go or to catch up with a friend over lunch or dinner, the Bush Inn Centre is the perfect place. With our unique range of shops, you'll find everything you're looking for and more. Our friendly locals are always happy to help. We have plenty of parking at the Bush Inn Centre, making your shopping experience just a little bit easier. So come in, meet the locals and shop Bush Inn. You'll find us on the corner of Riccarton and Waimari Roads.
Looking for that perfect gift for a loved one? Wanting to add some vibrance to your home? Or just looking to brighten up your workplace? No matter the occasion, the Hitching Post has something for everyone. Lose yourself in their extensive range of homeware, art, glass and plasma cut metalwork. The Hitching Post is your one-stop shop for great style and quality. So come on down to the Hitching Post, 722 Marshland Road.
Action Removals, offering short or long-term storage facilities, full packing services, comprehensive rates, all fully insured and with 6 vehicle sizes to choose from. Earthquake repairs? Action Removals pack, move, store and return your valuable possessions stress-free. Action Removals, a family business that has been operating in Christchurch for over 10 years. Action Removals, your one-stop removal service on time, every time. 0800 222 526.
With all the latest innovations in the world of technology, Shift has everything you need to stay informed and in the know. Shift, 2:15 on Monday, right here on CTV.
The Christchurch Press Political Leaders Debate is being held tonight. It's the second chance to see John Key and David Cunliffe go head-to-head. CTV News will be attending and will bring you full coverage tomorrow. But Marcus Gibbs took to the streets asking locals what issues they thought the leaders should be talking about tonight.
What issues do you think are most important that need to be discussed?
Poverty, abuse for children. Yeah, that's probably the main ones.
What about for Cantabrians? What do you think really needs to, I guess in Christchurch or Canterbury in general?
The rebuilds and get on with it. Help people out with their houses.
Well, I think mainly health and education, yeah.
Are they the issues you care about?
Yeah, they are what I care about, yeah. Basically see if we can get as many jobs out there as possible and get things rebuilt as soon as possible.
Families, the economy, those two things.
And who do you think's going to come out on top?
I really have no idea.
Well, the housing shortage and just jobs, I suppose. Just make sure that there's jobs for people. That's about all really.
And who do you think's going to come out on top tonight?
Not too sure. It's hard to say. Yeah.
Has your voting been swayed in recent weeks?
Just getting a wee bit tired of all the, toing and froing and things that have been coming up, and just sort of getting a bit tired of it. Really, I think people are. Yeah.
Well, for Cantabrians particularly, accommodation.
for all the big expenditure over the public buildings. People are homeless and it's not getting any better or any easier. And it just won't do unless somebody says, oh hey, we don't need a convention centre just yet. We can do this, that and the other thing. Let's give people homes and make sure they're looked after.
Who do you think is going to come out on top tonight?
Tonight, I don't know. Probably John Key, but David Cunliffe is really pushing it really hard. I quite admire the man.
John Key.
And why do you think he will?
Because he's a stronger personality.
And when it comes to the actual debate, what issues do you think need to be talked about for Canterburyans?
Health, education are the main ones, and looking after the elderly.
Top policies for Christchurch, what do you think needs to be talked about tonight?
Well, I think just the infrastructure needs to be cranked up a wee bit. They need to get those roads fixed. It's
pretty frustrating out there, is it?
Just a little.
And don't forget that at 7 o'clock here on CTV, we'll have a debate with the candidates from the Christchurch Central electorate. Time now to check out your regional weather.
Good evening, Canterbury. Here's your region's weather. Timaru 13, while Temuka and Geraldine hit a high of 14. Methven and Ashburton sat on 13 degrees for most parts of the day. Rakaia 13. Darfield, Leeston and Ralston hit a high of 12 degrees. Looking now at Akanawa, they hit a high of 12 degrees today. Heading north to the Waimakariri district, Rangiora, Kaipoi and Amberley hit a high of 13. In the Hurunui district, Culverden, Hanna Springs and Cheviot hit one of the region's highs on 14. And up the very top in Kaikoura, they hit a high of 12 degrees. But what's in store for tomorrow? In Timaru, a fine Wednesday ahead with high cloud developing during the afternoon and light northeasterly winds. 2 degrees overnight with a high throughout the day of 16. In Ashburton, fine and mild tomorrow with sunshine and light northeasterly breezes, hitting an overnight low of 2 degrees and a high of 16. Christchurch, a milder day in store with sunshine and the usual northeasterly winds, hitting 2 degrees overnight and a high of 16 degrees. Kaikoura, a fine Wednesday ahead with high cloud developing during the afternoon and light northeasterly winds, hitting 2 degrees overnight and a high of 16. And in other areas around the region, Temuka and Geraldine hit a high of 17. Methven and Rakaia, afternoon cloud is expected with an overnight low of 5. Darfield, Leeston, Ralston and Lincoln, fine in the morning with afternoon cloud and a high of 15. Over in Akanawa, fine cloud with a high of 16. Rangiora, Kaipoi and Amberley hitting a high of 16 and overnight low of 5. Culverden, Hanna Springs and Cheviot expect to hit the region's high on 17. And looking ahead for the rest of Canterbury, high cloud increasing and thickening on Thursday with light winds. Cloudy on Friday with periods of rain, but they're mostly light. Expect moderate cold southwesterly winds. Mostly cloudy but dry on Saturday with moderate cold southwesterly winds easing out. Cloud clearing late in the day with frosts on Saturday night. Fine and sunny with light northeasterly winds developing on Sunday. Becoming very cold on Monday with a period of gusty southerly winds. Expect low cloud and maybe a few brief showers. And that's all for your region's weather in Nohora. Have a great evening.
That's CTV News for Tuesday. I'm Grant Mangan. Good night.
supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.